Like this.
Colleen, are we ready? Yeah, ready. Okay. Good evening, everybody. Today is Thursday, November 13th, 2025, and it is 6:30 p.m. And this is the general meeting of the School Board of Intermediate District 287. Before we move on to our agenda, I'm going to ask Dr. Lamb to share our mission. See you on.
I will do it twice because they can't.
I'll also share it out loud. The mission of Intermediate District 287 is to be the premier provider of innovative, specialized services to ensure that each member district can meet the unique learning needs of its students. Okay, first, and then we're going to do board member introductions, and we're going to begin with Crystal.
Good evening. My name is Crystal Brecky. I'm the representative from Richfield Public Schools.
You take Osceola area schools.
Caroline Long, Robbinsdale School District.
Good evening, I'm Michael Bergman. I represent Edina Public Schools.
And I represent St. Louis Park.
Dan Genestra, Wayzata Public Schools.
Richard Zeck, Portland Center.
Good evening, Karen Orkett from Orono.
Thank you. And we have Kim from Eden Prairie who is observing online tonight. Okay, first we will approve our meeting agenda. Is there a motion to approve the agenda as presented? So moved. Moved by Crystal. Is there a second? Sure. Second by Keith. Any further discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The chair votes aye and the agenda is approved. Next up, we have audience opportunity to speak. I don't believe we have anyone signed up today. No, ma'am. Thank you, Ronnie. All right. Then we have our consent agenda, which contains which contains routine business items. Is there a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented?
So moved.
Moved by Karen, second by Michael. Any further discussion? All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? The chair votes aye and the consent agenda is approved. And now this is the part we're really here for. So we have our share the success and recognitions. First up, we have a student spotlight from our itinerant services. And I believe Tracy Moll, our senior manager, is going to introduce.
Good evening, Chair Casey, Superintendent Dowd, members of the board and colleagues. My name is Tracy Moll. I am a senior manager of special education and itinerant services. I supervise some of our itinerant programs, and we are excited to share both Above and Beyond nominee as well as our student spotlight this evening. Our student spotlight this evening is Maxine Cluckhone. And she is part of our deaf, hard of hearing resource program that is located in Osseo area schools. We are joined today by Krista Macbeth, is our teacher, and she will introduce us to our student today.
Max is a bright, empathetic, and introspective student taking a variety of advanced classes. Max is a junior this year at Osseo Senior High within one of our member districts and receives support from a 287 DHH teacher and a team of 287 ASL interpreters. Osseo social workers are also a part of Max's team, as are, of course, all of Max's teachers and Max's family. Max is most interested in chemistry and art and is planning their next steps. Max?
Hi, Madam Chair. Hi, members of the board and staff and guests. My name is Maxine Cluckhone. I'm from Osseo Senior High as a junior, and in my previous school, I was the only DHH student for most of my time there. There was no interpreter. There was nobody there that had significant experience in deaf, hard of hearing students. And I frankly struggled a little bit there. I moved to Osseo with their Fernbrook Elementary School in late spring of 4th grade. And I have been thriving at that school ever since with the support of my many DHH teachers and case managers over the years and my many interpreters, including Lisa, who's here today.
Thank you. Board members, to support access, I'm going to ask you to please raise your hand and then I will call on you and then pause to make sure that our interpreter can get positioned and then you can ask your question or make your comment. So does anyone have something besides just thank you and that was awesome for Max? Oh, Dan.
What classes have you enjoyed taking?
I enjoy taking my health science chemistry class last year, my forensic science elective class this year, and the various art classes I have taken throughout all my years, including fashion design and apparel class.
Well done. We're very proud of you.
Thank you.
With the help of your translation services and the other supports that you've received, have you been able to make a community there at Osseo that now better understands you, including not just the teachers, but also your student colleagues?
Yes, many of my peers have become my friends, and I am able to, despite living several cities away, hold a community in Osseo.
Great, thank you very much.
Yeah, what are your plans for you? Did you get over it? What are your plans after you graduate?
I plan to go to a college. I haven't decided which one yet, but I do hope to get into Rochester Institute of Technology.
Thank you. It's been an honor to have you here tonight. And we wish you the best of luck.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
It's good to be here.
Okay. That are above and beyond.
Yes, thank you. Our above and beyond staff member is Rebecca Machi. Rebecca was unable to be here this evening, but I do want to share what the staff member had to say about Rebecca that nominated her. I nominate Rebecca Machi for this award in recognition of her unwavering commitment to equity and excellence. As both the equity team lead and dedicated educational audiologist, Rebecca consistently goes above and beyond to ensure that every student on her caseload has equitable access to auditory information across their environment. In her role as the equity team lead, Rebecca approaches work with diligence, thoughtfulness, and an ongoing drive to create meaningful change. She fosters collaboration among staff, leads thoughtful conversations about equity and inclusion, and helps guide district-wide initiatives that make a meaningful impact on student outcomes. Her leadership is grounded in empathy, action, and the belief that everyone deserves to be seen, heard, and supported. Beyond her equity work, Rebecca demonstrates exceptional dedication in her role as an educational audiologist. She works tirelessly to provide access to sound and spoken language through the strategic use of assistive technology, such as DM microphones, classroom speaker systems, and school-issued hearing aids. She is not only an expert in her field, but also a passionate advocate for students, regularly troubleshooting equipment, collaborating with member district staff, and empowering students to understand and use their technology with confidence. Rebecca's impact extends far beyond the technical aspects of her roles. Her work embodies what it means to break down barriers, champion inclusion, and model what equitable practices look like. Through her leadership and dedication, Rebecca ensures that every student with a hearing loss can fully participate, contribute, and thrive in their learning environment. So we thank Rebecca.
I will just say that in our visit to the THH program in Osseo at the elementary level, we saw all the different ways that technology and sign language and written language and spoken language all work together. So as you were talking about that, all the different ways it gets put together, that really we got to see that live. And so I very much believe what you said. And we congratulate and thank Rebecca, and please just pass on our greeting to her. Thank you. You are welcome to stay, but you don't have to. But you are welcome to stay if you'd like. Thank you. Very nice. Exact same hair as Mike. Smells like it. Right. For our superintendent's report, Superintendent Dowd is going to introduce our Director of Finance.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'd like to ask staff to please come up to the podium. As you know, we had our previous Director of Finance leave and go into consulting, and we had a wonderful consultant come back into educational finance.
He went to a different school. Not to keep up. Oh, thank you.
It's
It's too
okay.
confusing.
It's too confusing, I know.
The titles are too similar.
It's all good. So I'd like to welcome Scott Lesage to District 287. Scott comes to us as a Director of Business and Finance in Meeker Wright Special Education Cooperative. He was an Executive Director in Finance and Operations at Wayzata Public Schools, most recently a consultant at CISO. And I'm really excited and happy to have him here at Intermediate District 287. Scott, if you'd like to share a little bit about yourself.
Sure, absolutely. Good evening, Chair Casey, Superintendent Dowd, members of the board. My name is Scott Lesage. Superintendent Dowd mentioned, I've been in school roughly 10 years. I got my start, I always kind of tell the funny story that I went K through 12 in Redwood Falls and then moved away, did the college thing and was never going to move back, and moved back and worked for a firm in town there. And my superintendent when I was in high school, Rick Ellingworth, lived a street over from me, and he came and knocked on my door when we had just had our fourth child. And it was a hot August day, and he said, "My director of finance is retiring and I need you to come up to the school." And I said, "I didn't know schools had directors of finance." And I said no 5 times, and the 6th time I said yes, and it was a great decision. So I've been in schools roughly 10 years, including Meeker Wright Special Education Cooperative, which was a fantastic experience. I was at a public schools, excellent institution, and then Redwood area schools. And most recently as a consultant for a very short time, I realized I like being in a district where I can just focus on one entity and really build those relationships and collaboration with everyone. So I'm very excited about that. Personally, my wife and I have 4 children. We've got a sophomore at NDSU that runs cross country and track, and we've got a 9th grader, a 7th grader, and a 5th grader. So again, I'm just grateful for the opportunity and thankful to be here. I started last Monday, and it's been fantastic to meet the team. And I just thank them all for their grace and patience as I get up to speed with my learning curve. So thank you very much.
Yeah, are you sure your daughter should be at NDSU?
You know, honestly, I didn't know if I should mention where she went to school. Okay. So we get off to the wrong. Okay, I'm sorry. I didn't go there. Is that okay?
Okay.
Okay.
We need to talk to that girl.
All right.
I am really happy to see that I'm not the only one who has a very strong affinity for bagging on the rival of my alma mater.
Okay, go Bison.
Oh, okay. I can't take sides. I'm sorry.
So to let you know, Scott's just been here about a week. We'd like to keep him.
He's already disappointed me.
So,
All overlooking.
all right.
Parents are not responsible for the choices of their children.
Well,
Questions for Scott?
No, the only comment is, Mert Woodard sends his very best. He asked,
Oh.
if I had met you. I said, no, I think we were meeting you today.
Perfect.
We were together yesterday. He asked about you. So
Art is
he sends his
fantastic.
best.
Thank you.
And I'm so glad that superintendent tapped you. That's an amazing story. I'm glad you
Thank
shared
you.
it.
Yeah.
All right.
I
Oh, yeah,
would,
go ahead, Dan.
I would just say a little bit to welcome Scott. He was outstanding as Director of Finance and then Executive Director of Finance in Wayzata Public Schools. You all get used to, I'm sure, his sense of humor and the jokes he brings to finance reports and all that. So wonderful guy and good to be with you again.
but we're always serious.
I know. I'll work on that. All right. I'll get my daughter to transfer to maybe. Yeah. Well, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks. We have under our instructional report, the first item is the report on the Grow Your Own for Students, Student Interns and World Education course. And we have Kiara Zachary, our Director of Equity and Inclusion, who's going to present.
All right. Good evening, Madam Chair, board members, and Superintendent Dowd. I'm really excited to share with you all our interim report on our Grow Your Own Student Pathway program. I am not alone today. Our Equity Inclusion Coordinator, who really is the boots on the ground and coordinating and supervising this program, Brent Dysart, is online. And then you'll also have a chance to meet Marquise Pruitt, who is one of our student interns and is currently an ESP at Ann Bremmer Education Center. Okay. Oh, this isn't the right presentation. Mhm. I sent you the wrong. I'm so sorry.
Okay.
That is not what I was expecting to present. Can I send you something else really quickly? 1 second. I'm so sorry.
So you want to revisit the joke that happened?
He's pretty serious.
Sure, I got it. 20. Did you have to go there?
Rich lost his mind when he found out that our new finance director's daughter goes to NDSU.
And that's fighting. I grew up.
Okay. That's it. Oh, yes, yes, that's it. Sorry. Okay. Yes, there are pictures. Here we go.
It looks like in the board book, so that's good.
Okay,
Yes.
all right, thank you. All right, so here we go. So we're here to talk about our Grow Your Own GYO Student Pathway Program. We'll bring up a couple of different presentation outcomes. So we're going to talk about our Student Pathways programs. We have 2 of them. We're going to share the success of our internship program and our plans for growth. And we're going to hear from our Grow Your Own Pathways participant and now staff person. So there are 3 components, well, 2 active, but there are 3 components of our Grow Your Own program. So just to familiarize you or to remind you all, MDE has several initiatives to increase students of color and to decrease the teacher shortage. So there are multiple funding streams. We access pretty much all of them in District 287. The one that we are talking about today is the student focused pathway. So these are funds that directly support students to encourage them to enter the field of education and teaching. And these are the ways that we do that in 287. So we have an extended school year internship program that we've been running for 3 years. Students work along education support professionals in classrooms as interns over our extended school year program in the summertime. It's a 3-week program, and we'll talk some more about the details of that. We also have a World of Teaching course with Northern Star Online. It's an 100% asynchronous course. We've added courses, which is really exciting. So the first is an exploratory course. It's really introduction to education. What does it mean to be a teacher? What does it mean to be an educator? How do people learn? And then there's an advanced course where we're really talking about pedagogy and the history of education in the United States. This year, for our second semester, in quarter 3, we'll be sort of combining the World of Teaching course with NSO and our ESY internship program. So students will be able to access the NSO asynchronous information at our education sites, have a mentor, which was already built into our online asynchronous course, but they'll have an in-person mentor. And then they'll be able to replicate sort of that ESY internship experience at one of our sites. We're really excited about that opportunity. So here's a little bit more about our extended school year program. This year, we had 15 paid interns. These interns they received a one-to-one mentor. We had an opportunity, while the internship is only 3 weeks long, the program itself is 5 weeks long. They go through a 1-week orientation where we teach them about de-escalation. We help them support instructional strategies. We help them do sort of like some technical things around like setting up direct deposit and filling out HR paperwork. And we help them set intentions about the program to really be supportive about what they will be doing within our classrooms. They also have an opportunity to join our staff, our extended school year staff, during their ESY orientation as well. So we support them by extending that, but they're also right alongside staff and receiving the same sort of training that their colleagues will be receiving as well. And we had interns at Ann Bremmer Education Center, North Education Center, and South Education Center this year. Our interns served over 900 hours. This looked like providing instructional support, helping students de-escalate and regulate, providing sensory breaks, lots of basketball played, lots of walks were taken, all sorts of things. And in turn, how we intentionally provided support in order for them to support our students, we had to support them very intentionally. And this site level wraparound support is really Brent's brainchild. So last year, he was able to see what the program looked like. Last year, we had 6 interns, and he saw an opportunity for us to be more intentional about support, having more regular check-ins with students, and really being responsive to the feedback that we received from those 6 interns. We served North and South Education Center, just North and South Education Center in the previous summer. And so by expanding to a 3rd site, Brent thought it would be, it begged us to have like on-site support for all of the interns. So we had a site leader for each one of the sites. And this site lead was really their go-to person. If they had a question about something, they knew who to contact. If a mentor or mentee, an intern didn't necessarily have a classroom fit, or maybe they wanted to explore a different program, there was someone to help facilitate those relationships across programs. We provide transportation for our students as well. So transportation isn't a barrier for them to access this paid opportunity. And our interns were able to take the paraeducator program or the paraeducator test. Some of them passed. And we were able to pay them hourly rate of an ESP. So it's a really great opportunity. Of course, we want to evaluate our program for continuous improvement. So positive experiences is that the students and mentors loved it. It's a highlight of their year. I was talking to an intern today while I was visiting ABEC, and he said, I'm ready to work again already, right? They love the experience. And he said, I think I'm ready for older kids, right? He's really thinking about what he's going to do next year. The things that we've been thinking about is that it was really staff intensive, right? I've been talking to other districts that receive student grow your own funds. They have internship programs, and we have a much richer staff ratio. Some of it is because of the students that we serve, but I also think that we scaled really fast. We went from like 2 students to 6 students to 15 students. And so that model we realized this year was really more staff intensive, and there's ways that we can sort of pare back. There's an opportunity for us to consider a different staff ratio or what it might mean to be a site lead. Part of the impetus for extending the World of Education or the World of Teaching course is because students wanted the program to last longer. But ESY is only 3 weeks. So it's very finite. And that in order for us to extend that, we had to think, again, creatively about what those other opportunities were, where they would have access to younger students. Of course, our ALC has a summer school as well, but that really wasn't the interest, a high interest for students to be working with other high school students. We recognized within our program evaluation that is required by the state that, and another impetus for creating the hybrid World of Teaching course is that our 2 program offerings were really disparate. So our World of Teaching course in the asynchronous model had a higher participation rate for predominantly white students and students in outstate Minnesota, which is in and of itself not a problem, but it's not the target of the funding. And so in order for us to create more intentional opportunity for students of color for the World of Education course, we considered what sort of supports could we offer and how could we provide like heighten the interest of an asynchronous course about education, since we know students really love this opportunity to be seen as leaders and to have a more hands-on learning opportunity. We're trying to mitigate that representation or disparate representation in the 2 programs by creating this hybrid opportunity. And then lastly, figuring out how to really systematize hiring and payment. What was tricky is that ESY begins at the beginning of a fiscal year. So if we're going to prepare students beforehand, that means we're doing it at the end of a fiscal year. So we had to hire and then rehire students so that they could be paid again. There was just some tricky things that we could do better. And so it made us more intentional about what that programmatic, what the program will look like and how we'll create a smoother hiring process for our students and interns. Shout out to Brent again for helping us acknowledge that and then to work with students to mitigate any barriers. So here's some student testimony because I think this is all of our favorite parts. And you get some pictures of interns too. The best part for all of our students, for all of our interns, was building a relationship with kids. And all of the ways that they could say this, having fun with students, playing basketball with students, getting to know my students, hearing that term, my students, right? Like they really felt ownership. They really felt pride in their work and they felt like adults and educators in that setting. Students learned a lot about what it means to be a paraprofessional. Many of our students had come into contact with ESPs and didn't really understand the job outside of what they saw within their connection. It was a really meaningful experience for them to understand, the choices that we're making, because they're professional choices informed by training that their staff are making on a day-to-day basis. So now being in that position, they have a different perspective of the people that they've been working around and working alongside. Our students were really excited about having work opportunities and building relationships with coworkers, right? Some of our students access work-based learning and they work in settings where they're responsible for a single task, or they may be working in, they may work on a project alone. And this was an opportunity for them to have not only a cohort of interns that they could connect with, but seeing what it means to work alongside people and to be in a team setting every day. They also recognize that students with disabilities require different things, and that it does really take a special type of an intentional person to take on the work, and that there should be more of them, which is exactly what we want students to know, which is exactly what we want this program to draw out of them. So our future plans are to create our in-school internship program. We want to explore program efficiencies and improvements to extend funding. And we want to develop post-secondary education pathways with our adult grow your own programs. Really thinking about how can we bridge students from the student pathway to the adult pathway. One of the ways that we can do that is to get them to work with us, right? But there are some other things that we can do, finding opportunities for community member funding within our current grant programs, or identifying other community partners like Normandale's Sped Up program or Certify to help them sort of transition into becoming a licensed teacher. What was most exciting, and I think this is part of what Brent and I loved the absolute most, is that we had, I want to make sure I got the number right here. Part of the program evaluation that MDE requires us to do is to ask students how many are still interested in being, remain in teaching as a career. And we had 10. We had 10 students that were still interested. And 2 of them applied for jobs, right? Which was so amazing. They graduated that year and 2 of them applied for jobs, one at South Education Center and one at Ann Bremmer Education Center. We're super proud of them. And so I'm going to have Marquise come on up and just speak a little bit about his experience.
Hey, board. A little bit about my experience as an intern. Before I was able to do the internship, I graduated and I didn't know what was next for me. And I talked to Dysart about different opportunities I had for colleges and things like that. And I also wasn't sure about that. So he brought up the internship to me, and it sounded like a great opportunity to get work experience and just figure out if it was something I wanted to do. And I came into it nervous about just working in that field and being back in a situation where I'm in a school and I already didn't like school as a student. But doing the internship, it made me a lot more confident in myself and in the workplace, and building character and just building connections with students and staff all over the district. I got a job here now and I've loved it so far. I work at the same place I got an internship at, and that's been a great experience. I see the same students I worked with during the internship every day, and we greet each other every day. And just we laugh about the summer, we laugh about current events, and I've built connections outside of my classroom and inside of it. So I'm very thankful to have that.
Is there a class or a group of students you enjoyed working with in particular?
Particularly mine that I'm in for the school year, which would be Miss Teresa's, and secondly, probably Mr. Sean's room, because that was who I was with during the internship, and he was just very real to me and very caring.
I'm curious about the one-to-one mentoring. So I'm assuming you were given you were assigned a certain mentor that you were paired up with.
Yep.
Tell me about that experience, because I'm really advocate of that type of thing, and I wanted to hear more of your experience with it. How did that help you as you did the internship to then want you to apply for a role after the internship was over?
Just hearing about experiences and how it feels to have a connection with your students, and just how experience goes a long way. For me, it was Melissa, and during the school year, it's been Dina, but Melissa in particular gave me a lot of advice for just life in general, not just the workplace. So motivation in the workplace and outside of it, which has kept me going today.
And was that something you did every day with your mentor, or was it like you checked in only periodically? How did that work?
We
exactly?
checked in at the start of each shift.
Okay, great. Thank you. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Listening to you talk brought me back. So thank you for the flashback because my first job after I finished school myself was to be a middle school teacher. And I was so scared because middle school was so hard for me. And you talked about like that it was hard enough for you to be a student. So going back and I just also think that is what makes you probably really great at what you do because you have that connection and you know what it feels like to maybe not love being in school every day and think about how to make it better for kids who maybe just haven't found their place yet. So I think it's fantastic that you have come to this and I'm so excited that you're still part of 287. And I just think this is such a really important program. And I wanted to shout out Brent, who I know could hear us, but isn't with us tonight, just for the tremendous amount of work that has gone into this in a really short amount of time.
One more comment. And this is such an important program from our perspective, right? This is something that we talk about and that we love doing, and we're so happy that Kiara and the team are doing that. I'm curious as to now that you've gone from the internship now to the current role that you're in, has it given you sort of a sense of, do you want to continue down the path of eventually becoming a teacher, getting a license and so on and so forth, and then having us support you through that process as well? I mean, there's layers to this cake. I'm just curious as to, not any pressure about that, but more of, as the program helped you kind of ask those questions and identify the process for doing so.
Right. Before the internship, again, I had no idea what I was gonna do. So again, I was worried about going back into a school in general and just being a good role model. But like I took the internship and I was working and I was like, this might not be something I want to do long term. Like I definitely couldn't see myself teaching in a classroom. But I got through the internship, I got the job as an ESP, and I've been able to work in the classroom, and I've subbed as the teacher a couple of times. And that's really made me feel like anything is possible in the work field, especially in the classroom. So
Excellent.
yeah, so
That is
just
awesome to hear.
it's definitely been on my mind lately. I won't say it's a definite but I love the opportunity.
And that's what I think we hope for the program, right? Is to actually give you that opportunity for you to test it out, to try it, to see what works, see what doesn't, as you continue to evolve and mature into what you want to be and so on and so forth. That's what we want the program to be able to give you, that support so you can do that, versus you kind of have to commit one way or the other and you don't know, and then you kind of go down a path and then 5 years later, like, well, what am I doing? I don't know why I did this, so on and so forth. So the supports are really a key part, and I'm really glad that that's had an impact for you.
Yeah, I would love to thank Kiara and Brent for sure. Both great people. Gave me a great opportunity, gave me and 14 other people great opportunity, not just students, people. So it means a lot.
And this program, in my opinion, right, is a great hallmark for how other places do it, including at our own districts. So that's awesome. Thank you.
And we know Brent is listening because he put a little thank you in the chat for Crystal's comment. So he heard what you said. I when you were speaking, like the words I think I heard you say were like building confidence and character connections. I don't know if the alliteration was intentional, but like it spoke to me. I mean, just like those things are coming through so loud and clear in your presentation to us and clearly how you are showing up for kids. So well done. Thank you very much for this service to our district. We really appreciate it. And we really appreciate, like you said, Kiara and Brent, for everything they've done to get this program going. Like, what was this thing you said? It was, I don't know, we moved very quickly. Like, what was the word you used though? Like, when we like scaled it.
Yeah.
Yes.
we scaled
Scaled it really fast. Like that is, that's hard. And you guys are having so much success in like just a short amount of time already. So really very grateful for that. Any other last questions? We're really grateful you're here. Like we said to the other folks, you're welcome to stay for the rest of our board meeting, but you certainly not required.
If you want any advice on what college to go to.
Right.
You're not listen to the rest.
I heard the conversation.
No, let me say though, when if you do get to that point and you are thinking of every single one of the people in this room would help write you a recommendation for any college you want to go to.
And I can
even Rich, even for North Dakota.
I doubt it.
But we support you.
Support.
Maroon and gold. I'll go first.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Good job.
Okay, next up, we have our FY twenty-six enrollment report, and Dr. Tanya Allen, our superintendent, is going to present. And we do have paper copies in front of us as well, if you want to refer to that.
Good evening, Madam Chair, Superintendent Dowd, and members of the board. I'm grateful to be here to just present the information, and I want to give a huge shout out to my colleagues, Kim Helgeson, our Director of IT and SIS, and her team, as well as Director of Special Education, Melissa Broading, and her team, for some of the data that you'll see within this report. So we are just going to do the report. There is no presentation. So if you want to turn to page 2, I just want to provide an overview. I'm not going to read the whole report, but I do want to call out some really specific things that you'll notice in this report. The first thing I want to point out is reminding you that this is that single point of time as far as what the data is. And our date here is the actual recorded enrollment on October 16th. So numbers have changed obviously since that time. So just keep that in mind as we look at that information in the report. As you look at our enrollment information summary down at the bottom of page 2, and you look at our district-wide projections versus our actual, and that special note is around our excluding of NSO, care and treatment, and itinerant services, which is calculated differently. But if you notice, one of the first things that you may see pop out at you is that grade K-5 enrollment, and that our difference from projection is we are at that point in time, we were 13.13 over the projection. And you'll notice that the October 2024 actual ADMs were 119.76, and where we were sitting at for the October 2025 was 141.66. So just noticing those changes in our numbers, especially in that age group. And then if you look at our 9 through 12 plus, which is really our setting for special education students in our high school programs, but also transition and our ALCs, you'll notice that that number is down quite a bit. However, historically, that's the number that will grow over time. Typically, we'll get a lot more enrollments in January or that second half of the year with high school enrollment than you will with where we are right now at that October point in time. So just wanted to remind everybody about that. If you go to page 3, you'll look at that special education by itself, site projections versus actual. And this is really important to note because you're going to see a site like South Education Center that is very close, just under at that time. And then, but 2 sites, Ann Bremmer and West Education Center, that are lower. And if you recall, Ann Bremmer and West Education Center are where our high school and transition programs are mainly situated, which is why you'll see that difference in numbers, because their numbers tend to rise the second half of the year and not right now at that time. Our care and treatment program projection versus actual is under at this point in time, and care and treatment, once again, is that referral-based program. So oftentimes earlier in the year, you may not see as many referrals for treatment services, but that number will pick up over time as well, which if you've been paying attention and you probably heard some of the data around just mental health in schools right now, the trend is significantly higher in terms of students that are having mental health issues that are maybe not getting access to as many services as previously able to access. So we anticipate, can't project for sure, but our trend has been that we catch up later in the year. If you go to page 4, our ALC Academies projection versus actual is pointed out. Once again, our programs that have shifted there, our West Education, our WALT program is pretty close, as well as South Education, to what we had projected. The programs that are behind at that time were North Education Center Academy and Career and Tech Center at Gateway, which ironically, you see the numbers at Gateway under slightly at that time. But then when you look at Pathways, our career tech projection at that same site is up. And so there are more students that you notice or recall, we added some Pathways this coming school year. So some of those students, and that data isn't separated out, which we can possibly do in the future, to say that some of those students that have been in our Gateway program, because it's housed in the same building and site at Hennepin Technical as Gateway, some of those students are accessing some of those pathway courses, which does end up shifting where that ADM is. For Northern Star Online, Northern Star is another program that typically grows over time because we have a lot of students that are taking supplemental courses and things like that. So some of those students, we're just at the end of, for most sites and districts, at end of Q1 and going in. And some of those students don't enroll until, second semester when things aren't going so well and they need some of those additional supplemental credits, for example. So where that is falling there, in our independent study is similar, where over time that number tends to continue to grow based on enrollments in that program. We turn to page 5. This is where we get into some of our historical trends. And the historical trend on the top chart of our overall total enrollment goes back to FY20. And so if you notice and look at that bar from FY20 and you look at where we are in FY2026, you'll notice that as we went down during what was the COVID years, right, we are slowly on the uptick back up, and we're really almost mirroring, or at that point in time, that enrollment from FY20. And with our setting for special education enrollment, it is once again doing that, except if you notice on that chart down below, it's actually going back to the 2017-18 school year. So some of the, not everyone has been on the board that long, going back that far, but those that were probably recall some conversations in the board meetings about where our enrollment was and some of the concerns at some of the sites with as it related to specific programs within those sites and where they were from a just number of teachers and number of staff to support the students where they were. If you go to page 6, this just gives an ALC Academy's enrollment overview. Once again, our ALC enrollment really hit the high point back in FY18. At that point in time, as you goes back farther, but on this trend chart, our ALC enrollment has continued to be more on a decline than it is on the rise. And I think for those that may ask about like what may have changed from that time period, if you recall, back in that FY18, that was when we were still having a higher enrollment in some of our programs, because at that time we were still operating our daycares. And if you recall, those daycare programs closed, which meant that a lot of the students that were accessing those programs, unfortunately, our teen pregnancy went down. So the accessing of those programs also went down as well. So that's one of the shifts you'll see. And NSO down below on that same page, NSO enrollment is still continuing to rise with that contracted and supplemental enrollment. And that number just continues to change over time, but has been pretty steady. If you turn to page 7, you'll look at our demographic information. Our district is majority students of color, so 66.24% of our students are students of color. And down below, I know the free or reduced price lunch chart can kind of be confusing about what's eligible and ineligible. We do get quite a bit of a large percentage off of direct certification for free or reduced. And that just shows our overall numbers. And as we know, everyone is free. One of the things that has happened is that we don't have as many applications. Our application numbers are not as high as they could be. We continue to work on that. But obviously, because everyone knows it's free, I think that's a similar challenge to maybe what's happening in your districts as well. If you turn to page 8, this is where you get into your specific district, which is always an ask, is just to see where are your referrals and where are your numbers for your site, your school district, I should say. And so this just gives a breakdown for where with district by district on setting for enrollment, ALC academies, CTC pathways, care and treatment, and NSO. And at the very bottom is where that non-member number is. And as we recall, with ALCs are choice programs, so students can come from wherever as long as they can get to that site. So those are those students that are captured there. And then also with care and treatment, that occurs at times as well for accessing those services and supports. On page 9, if you go to that last page, this just gives an idea of the number of referrals from July 1st through October 16th. And so if you notice the enrollments and the site placements that go along with that, the two districts that referred the most during that time period were Osseo and Robbinsdale. And you can see across where students ended up. And one thing that may stand out for you is to say, well, hey, why did these students from particularly, let's say, Osseo, end up at South Education Center or some of those things? One of the things that we're looking at is the reality that because our K-5, for example, numbers are higher and where they're sitting, we're having to really look at things in terms of where do we have classrooms and space for those students. So that those are some of the things that we're doing right now as we look at where those numbers are. Since that chart, I did ask, it's not a part of the report, but I did ask because I listened last year's report to prepare myself. So referrals have definitely continued since October 16th. And our sites are really doing all that they can to bring in students as they are able, as they have staff. And I would be remiss to say that that has not been a challenge for us, just like it is for others. At this point, we have 13 students from our that have been referred and are not yet placed. And that's just the realities of where we are with our overall numbers of the referrals that are coming in. And the referrals that are coming in are primarily in that kindergarten through 8th grade band. We do have some high school students, and those students are typically able to get in sooner than our younger students at this point in time. So that is a somewhat quick, brief overview, but I'm happy to answer questions or ask any of my colleagues if there's a question.
I'd like to add, first of all, thank you, team, for the report. We've been watching it closely because our elementary is at a pinch point right now in regards to physical space and then hiring. So we are working with the principals, North and South are, because they're the only two that have the elementary program, looking at what we can creatively do with the referrals and support good programming. So we are just to be full and transparent. This is a pinch point for us right now, capacity of physical space.
Thank you. That was great. I'm not surprised that you went back and looked at last year's like, because you were very prepared. I think especially given what you were just saying about the capacity of pinch point, I think it's just, the graphs on page 6 are really striking. We look at the trajectories of the ALCs and the Northern Star Online. And I think realizing how much Northern Star Online is contributing to the district right now. And that, and I know this has been talked about for several years that we're struggling at some of the enrollment numbers at the alternative sites. And I love the alternative programs, and I think they have a really important role to play. And so I just curious the conversations that are going to continue and evaluating what the space needs are, what the enrollment demands are, what member districts are saying their needs are, because it feels like that's several years of historical data at this point that I think is hard to ignore.
When I meet with the superintendents, I just met with them last week. They also got this report and we went through it in regards to what are pinch points and decisions. So since I've been here, we've been bringing data regarding the ALCs to the superintendents to say, is it time to consolidate? Is it time to, we're getting a little uptick with enrollments. We're watching it. So the issue is these are end of the year enrollments, and the fiscal 26 is a current point in time. And so we really like, are we going to continue to tick up with our ALCs? And we agreed to just keep watching it each year. So I'll be giving them another overview of like, what are we're going to go into budgeting season in the new year. And is this a time to consolidate? We definitely need space at South. And like Nika has a wonderful ALC program, and it's lacking a bus route. It's lacking access points to support the enrollment in the north end. But removing that from the north end is an impact on the north. And so it's a collaborative decision in regards to ALC with the superintendents. We also will bring it, Melissa will be bringing it to the special education directors and starting to enter into conversations as we project budgeting for the next fiscal year. But it is a pinch point, and from my understanding, this elementary referral is a greater trend than we've ever seen. So that's really new to post-COVID.
I would just, on that note, when we look about the demographic changes that are anticipated throughout all of our populations, no matter who we serve, that we're gonna see smaller kindergarten classes compared to our older classes, and then, but might still be seeing a lot of demand for referrals from who actually is showing up in schools and so on and so forth. So as you contemplate what your pinch points are and so on and so forth, I would recommend giving some thought to the demographic changes that might be appearing 3, 5, 10 years out as we think to consolidate or how we want to reallocate from that. Because I know that's more than likely a conversation that everyone's having in their own individual districts. The same would then be applicable here. And it's not that we don't want to have a program or whatever it is, but it's like, where's the demand going to be and where do we best serve what the future needs going to be as well? I think that's a really challenging question that I think we all face.
Yeah, absolutely. And you've all seen the birth rates. Unfortunately, special ed is not trending the same way. And so that's part of why the Blue Ribbon Commission is here for long term. What do we need to do to support all students in general education settings? And then who really needs special education? So there's the numbers, and yet there's a huge adaptive change that's going to need to occur. But we've grown percent in special education in the state of Minnesota, and that trend has always gone this way, even though birth rates have gone down.
One, if we're considering, we're having a lot of transition amongst our students, especially our special ed families are just moving in and out. Are you seeing that here? I mean, it's significant, the movement of our families.
Yeah, I would say, I think I wouldn't be able to accurately give a number or anything like that. I do think we have a lot of transitions with students. And I think there's a lot of reasons why, and I think housing stock and affordability are probably the two biggest factors. And so there are referrals. I wouldn't give the exact number, but, and I don't know that Melissa has it on hand, but I know that there are students that haven't been to in your districts right away because they literally are coming in from another district, another spot. And so I think that the things that we do know from the student supports end of things and HHM and things like that, I think we have a lot of, we just have a lot of people financially struggling. And I think that certain areas of the metro, we know, right, are racially predictable about who lives where and where's the housing more affordable in other areas. So I think that's probably what's causing some of that.
Thank you, Dr.
Yeah, no problem.
Our comprehensive achievement and civic readiness. Dr. John Boss, our Director of Teaching and Learning, is going to present the FY25 results and the FY26 goals.
Thank you, Madam Chair, Superintendent Dowd, and board members. Each year MDE requires a report and a plan on what used to be known as the world's best workforce. Now the Comprehensive Achievement and Civic Readiness, with the unfortunate acronym of CACR. And so what we have tonight is both the FY25 report and the FY26 plan. We can pause at the end of the first part to approve that and then the other one at the end. But we'll go through both of those. And just as a little bit of background in support of our mission, because we are an extension of our member districts and provide a wide range of programs and services, we've worked to align our strategic plan and our school improvement plan goals with all of the key areas of CACR so that we're not duplicating efforts and connecting as much as possible to what happens in our classrooms. These are the goal areas for the comprehensive achievement and civic readiness goals. And so we'll go through each of those and show a few of the things that we have started. The goals that we set last year when we brought forward, we kind of shifted to doing this based on our strategic plan and our school improvement plans. And so some of them apply readily and some of them are a little different. So for instance, kindergarten readiness doesn't necessarily apply. We do have kindergarten students, but the readiness part of it is through our IEP and referral processes. So we don't necessarily have a readiness aspect to that. We do pay careful attention to readiness, but we don't run preschools. For closing achievement gaps, this is where we relied heavily on our school improvement plan goals. And so through those, our sites focus on improved outcomes for particular student populations, showing the need for more intensive support. So these are by site and vary in both goal type and results on them. So just as you have access to them, but some of the key areas were for NEC, the tier 2 high school students on literacy, which is a theme throughout, as in literacy is usually the first academic goal that we look at when we're setting them. And then there's other opportunities for math or credit attainment or other related academic areas that students are working on. With South Education Center and their alternative center, they were focused on also on literacy for that particular group of students at that age group. For West Education Center, the focus was on African American students and their expected reading growth. For the Career Tech Center, focusing on the Gateway Area Learning Center and their oral academic language skills. And for the Northern Star Online program, they were focused on supporting heavily the students who were identifying as Black, Indigenous, or Hispanic, particularly in English and Algebra 2 courses, adopting a personalized course pacing plan to improve their completion of the credits that they were enrolled for. And then for the Ann Bremer Education Center, primarily across their programs, heavily focused on literacy and communication goals. So then for career and college readiness, we used our strategic plan goal to align that and where each student would have an academic growth target. We did not get to the 80% that we had targeted. And I think we talked about this previously when we gave our strategic plan report, that progress monitoring was a factor that we needed to improve on in order to understand how we can better get to those individualized goals. Graduation rates are one that we generally struggle with, partially because the identification of the students who are included under our graduation rates is difficult to determine. And also because a lot of that is lagging data. And so we don't necessarily understand what it is until after it's passed. But we continue to push to reach the ESSA requirements from the state. And we can talk about that a little bit more related to FY26 and some of the things that we're doing there. For the lifelong learner category, our district-wide social emotional learning goal focuses on students developing their own goals and self-monitoring their progress. And so that was how we approached that area last year, and did reach 90% of students doing that particular part of that goal. And then specifically in care and treatment, their school improvement plan focuses on students who self-identify as students of color and or non-binary, and their indications of of a sense of safety and empowered belonging, as measured through that SEAS data, social, emotional, and academic support data. And so those two things combined are part of our lifelong learner supports. So I think just as the stopping point before we get into this year, that's the report. This is submitted through the state system. Now there's not a written report. It all gets entered into what's called the MEG system. So that's why we thought we'd put it in a presentation format so that we can highlight some of those areas and also share a little bit of the school improvement goals.
I have a quick question, not on any one specific part, but where we didn't meet certain goals, was it that we made progress, but we didn't make the sizable enough progress to meet the goal?
Right.
Okay.
But the target of percentage didn't quite get to the one we had hoped for, but there's still progress going up to that, and there's still increases in
Was there any,
achievement.
just a quick follow-up, was there any measurement, if you looked after the last couple of years, did you see any dip in progress? Like, so like, if let's say we were at 40, we need to get to 60, and over the last couple of years, we've gone from 40 to 45 to 50, or whatever, it's on a trend towards that. Did you see anything last year to where there was a dip in progress?
This was the first year that we've done this strategic plan and some of these specific goal areas. Going back to some of the school improvement plans, some of them did have literacy goals in the past that were related to that, and a lot of times they were subsets of either different groups or overall, or largely based on the students who could use particular measurement systems like FastBridge. So we don't have specific ones related to these, but now that our strategic plan is 5 years out and we're looking at some of the same things year after year, that's probably one of the things we'll be paying attention to.
Great, thank you.
I appreciate seeing this and knowing that the alignment with the strategic plan, I think, is really clear, and having, sat through many years of world's best workforce, and I hated that term, so I will say, even this is not a great acronym, I really like the words a lot better. I feel like the academic achievement outcomes that you just walked us through are stronger than what we typically would see. Am I summarizing that correctly?
Yeah.
Okay. And that came through. And so I just wanted to sort of call that out, because I think that feels like something important to acknowledge and celebrate, and that it's a good step forward.
Thank you. Because in the years past, when we were using either FastBridge data or other measuring tools that were normed nationally, there was, first of all, a smaller subset of students who accessed those, and the data was not as clearly connected to what we do and what they learn in the classroom as I think is here now for everybody. That's a key goal of the strategic plan.
I would say that I appreciate that. And there would be a big disconnect between Green District Park and I really appreciate being shown results of what our students can do instead of how this doesn't look like. So I just so appreciate this narrative shift, and that we are actually meeting students where they're at and measuring their success. So kudos, love seeing this, the progress, but just also that we are measuring our students and assessing how the years are.
Wow. Yes.
Oh, nice.
And then one more comment, just like it was on Monday night in Edina where we went through this exact same thing. I'm on the teaching and learning committee, so I see a lot more of this detailed stuff in Edina. What I also like about this, to echo what Shannon was just saying, is that the transparency of it is also critical. That, a lot of times I think people can sometimes look at education and say, well, we only want to talk about the good things that we do, and we don't really want to talk about the things that we're not good at, or we didn't quite get to where we wanted to be, because there's 1,000 reasons why that happens, and so on and so forth. Not shying away from, we didn't meet the goal, but we've made progress, and here's now we're going to inform us as you're going to get into the second part of the presentation. here's what we want. We're not going to necessarily lower our goals in 26.
Right.
We're going to talk about how we're going to continue to apply the learning that we have and how do we keep moving towards those goals. That's a critical element. So as it was shared on Monday night in our meeting, that the transparency of that is really critical, in my opinion. And so seeing it here as well is also just an added component to what you were just saying. Thank you.
I was just wondering, were there any different barriers for schools who did not make their goals versus schools who did?
That's a good question, and one that we do try to unpack as we go through then this year in particular. Progress monitoring being the one that we identified across the board. Sometimes it's the curriculum materials and the match to what it is they're doing in the class. Sometimes it's the assessment instrument that they're using. We adopted a new way of working with our tier 3 students on setting goals based on a literacy assessment that's specifically designed for special education students. I think that gave us a little better understanding of what specific skills and what specific measurement tools we can use that are more consistent across the board. Because there's always been tools and there's always been measurement, and we still have a lot of different ways of doing it. But we've looked for a way to do that can be consistent across programs. So some of those variation in either the curriculum process or the assessment tools have been some of the things we've noticed that have made a difference.
I know that's a really good question. I think the other thing that we found in our strategic plan is that your districts might call them professional learning communities. You do collaborative team assessments. And so in the final report, we really talked about how are the collaborative teams working together, looking at student data, adjusting the instruction, bringing in resources. And we saw an area of growth that is needed to support teachers in looking at how are students doing. Do we have the data? And then how are they doing? And then what resources coaches and other sports bring in? And so one thing that is now part of our strategic plan is the intentionality of bringing in progress monitoring data, bringing data into segregated data into those communities and having the teachers walk through what do we need to do to change. And so it's not just the resources and the assessments, it's also building and supporting teachers for students that are not making that progress.
And the progress not, and then like equity component, like how does that play? Some barrier.
Yeah, that's really good. I think it's around, culturally responsive resources, but I also think it's about how are we, the adaptive work that we're doing around identity and what do we believe our students can do? And it's a combination of all of the departments working together because it's all of the above. All right.
And then I had just another question, just curious about like how do you measure belonging for students?
They have a tool that they've developed and used that it's through surveys with the students, and they do entry and exit surveys. And based on how the students answer those questions, that's how they determine those measures. We can bring in some specifics on it. I don't have them at my fingertips, but they've been doing it for several years, and particularly in care and treatment, because they work with the programs in those facilities, and then spend a lot of time on social emotional support and development too.
Share my Friday update from, and then it is a self-reporting. So students have a sense of belonging.
I think there's an action item we can do for each of these, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So before we go on to goals, go to action for the FY 26 results. So the board has to include that FY 25 results. Thank you. So is there a motion to approve the FY 25 results for the comprehensive achievement and readiness, civic readiness plan as presented. So moved by Shannon. Second by Crystal. Any further discussion? Okay, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The chair votes aye, and that report is approved. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Moving on then to this year's goals. Again, these are based on our strategic plan and school improvement plans. Kindergarten readiness hasn't changed, so that is still not applicable. But we do have 10 students enrolled in kindergarten, and I think it's been growing over time too. For closing the achievement gaps, these are some of the areas that our sites have identified as well. Dealing with particular populations and intensive supports, again, primarily for our academic goals through the strategic plan. So ABEC is looking at literacy and communication goals, primarily for the male population. North Education Center, middle school in tier 2 and 3. For South Education, tier 2 and tier 3 students in elementary school, meeting their literacy targets. For West Education Center, students of color and meeting their expected growth in literacy as well. Northern Star Online, now the same population, expanded not just to English and Algebra 2, but for all courses that they have a course pacing goal, a learning goal to facilitate earning their credit. And for itinerant, primarily tier 3 middle school students in their ASL DHH program to increase communication. So those are the specific intensive supports that will be provided to the groups in meeting their strategic plan goal areas. And then for career and college readiness, again, we have the 80% of students meeting or exceeding one identified academic goal. And those are based on literacy, math, completing their assessments to attain credit, and also includes the progress monitoring aspect this year. And again, this time the Career and Tech Center goal of increasing literacy in an area that supports specifically community, career, and college readiness is part of their goal there. It's something that's specifically designed around community, career, and college readiness. Graduation rates will still be shooting for the 67% target required by ESSA. And because we've been identified as a school needing improvement and support under ESSA and Compass, particularly for graduation rates, we're working with Brightworks and developing a comprehensive needs assessment this year in that process. So there will be some goals that will be set or for the sites that are involved in that, specifically related to graduation rates. It won't change the fact that a lot of the students that are under our graduation rates don't always spend a lot of time with our programs, but I think the process will be helpful, and the attention to what that means for graduation will be instructive in how we go about it. Again, for preparing students to be lifelong learners, this is our SEL goals, social and emotional learning. This year, all students will meet or exceed one identified SEL goal, also through weekly formative assessments and self-assessments and progress monitoring. The SEL and the academic goals are mirrors of each other now, so we're doing a lot of the same processes together. And also this year, the care and treatment goal for students of color, gender expansive, indicating their sense of safety, belonging, and agency will be part of our preparation for lifelong learning goals. So as a summary, our strategic plan goals are aligned with all of these key areas. The targets are tuned to individualized student growth in their IEPs, our school improvement plans, and our strategic plan. And we've got more emphasis on progress monitoring for regular updates, and tracking and intervention is a key part of that too. We're strengthening is, what does that tell us? What are we going to do about it? So I think if there are any questions on those? As a University of Wisconsin alumnus, I can't promise that I have the same affiliation with NDSU.
I don't think I've ever seen gender expansive students or trans or non-binary students called out in any kind of metric like this, and I really appreciate that. And I just want to uplift that the care and treatment team that must have been there doing that, like knowing how much of a challenge that like belonging and seeking an agency is for so many of those kids. That is, I'm very gratified to see. So please extend our thanks, to them, especially for giving me this part of this. I had never seen that before. Any other? All right, so that. Is there a motion to approve the FY 26 goals for the comprehensive achievement and civic readiness? We won't use the acronym because it's silly. As presented.
So moved.
Moved by Shannon. Second by, I heard Rich first. Any further discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The chair votes aye and the. Thank you, Dr. Voss.
Thank you.
All right, now we have, it's a good full agenda of lots of different kinds of things. I like that kind of thing. Okay, we have our business services and labor relations report, which is Dr. Kevin Witherspoon, who's going to come and present the contract with the Principal Association for approval. Another action item.
Good evening, Chair Casey, members of the board, Superintendent Dowd. Tonight, I'm seeking approval of the TA tentative agreement with the Intermediate Principal Association. The district and the IPA reached a tentative agreement on Monday, October 20th. The tentative agreement includes year one salary increase of 2%, year two salary increase of 0.7%, an increase in tuition reimbursement from $2,000 to $4,000 each fiscal year. And as you recall, we talked about before, but we require our principals to get a director of special ed license, and this will help offset the cost of that. An increase to the district TSA, tax sheltered annuity, from $3,000 to $3,500 for employees with less than 5 years of service, starting July 1 of 2027, so year two of the contract. And an increase in the TSA from $4,500 to $6,000 for employees with more than 5 years of experience, again, starting July 1st, 2027, so year two of the contract. Elimination of an MOU regarding performance pay of up to $1,500. There were no changes in health or dental insurance. The total package was 8.04% or $321,000 over 2 years. I also want to just include that of that 8.04%, 4.38% were roll-up costs, so step and lanes, TRA, FICA, et cetera. And so 3.62% was new salary in TSA. That's where those numbers came from. With the elimination of performance pay, we elected to take the $66,000 and add that as part of the package. So administration recommends approval.
Not a question, just appreciation for everybody involved in the contract negotiation and finalization process. I know it's a ton of work, even for a relatively small group like this one. So just wanted to say thank you to everyone.
And I would definitely say it was a very collaborative approach. We did interest-based bargaining, and it felt really, really good. So. Interest-based bargaining. Yep. So instead of trading proposals back and forth, you talk about what the issues are and how you can solve them together.
Our second round.
It is. Yep.
Yeah, I'm just curious about why the 0.7% in year two, 2%.
Yeah. That is what they elected to. That was a proposal from the IPA group to have a total package that equaled what we're working towards.
it would seem that the tuition reimbursement, so on and so forth, was a key element. So they sound like they probably offset that
That's exactly right.
increase with the increase in the second year.
Okay. With that, I'm. You need a 7 between your principal agreement as student.
So moved.
Moved by Michael, is there a second? Second. Michael and Crystal, any further discussion? Okay, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? All right, and it is approved.
Thank you.
All right. Are up to the board business section of our agenda. We have a couple of things. So this board has typically used the nomination committee process. So we'll ask for a nominating committee of 3 people in order to nominate members of the board to serve as board officers for 2026. So today I'm asking all of you to consider whether you'd be interested in serving on the nominating committee. I'm asking you to consider being part of the nominating committee. And up to 3 folks will be able to serve on that. And then we will name the committee in December. That's the schedule. So, so if you are interested in serving on the nominating committee, you get together, usually we just, what that committee would do would be kind of poll board members for their interest in serving as officers next year. And then get together and then kind of present a slate of candidates for officer roles at our organizational meeting in January. There's a lot of us, so that helps kind of figure out where the interest is and that kind of thing. Yeah, Crystal.
It's also in the bylaws.
It is in our bylaws as
Which
well.
is helpful
Thank you.
for me because it's such a
Yes.
different process than the one I
Yes.
was ever used to in my member district. And so it took me some like wrapping my head around why we do it this way. And that it is in the bylaws is a good answer for why, at least right now.
Thank you. Yeah. So consider whether you'd like to be part of it. Shoot me or Marcy an email if you or wanting, just let somebody know if you're interested. And then in December, we'll come back. And if people haven't volunteered in December, then we're just gonna pull names out of a hat. No, just kidding. We won't do that.
The officer roles are for 287.
Our treasurer, clerk, and our vice chair and chair. Yep,
Thank you.
good question. Okay, any other questions on that? The AMSD report. Superintendent Dowd and I and Rich, were you at? Did I see you there? I thought so, at the AMSD conference on Tuesday. I also got to see our very much missed former board member from Brooklyn Center, Ruthie, was at the conference too. It was good.
Aw.
Make good connection. I know. I like ran up the stairs to see her. So it was great. And it was a super interesting conference, and the keynote was on the importance of formative assessment. And I think we're kind of plugging into a lot of that in this conversation we're having tonight. So that's all kind of wrapped up neat with the bow. So thank you, team, everyone, because that's really the crux of what we're talking about today. And it was a very convincing presentation in favor of like constant formative assessment in many different ways. It doesn't always look like a standardized test at the beginning of a lesson, right? It usually doesn't look like that. So one of the techniques that the presenter used was just like, which of these things do you think is correct? And then just everybody raises their hand. And I love this idea that like the ephemeral kind of answering is way less scary or permanent, right? Like you're not gonna get, no one's gonna know if I raise a 2 or a 3 5 minutes from now, right? So it's just it's a way of measuring understanding without having to like feel like, oh, I'm getting graded on this in this moment. So that was very interesting. And there is a connections newsletter in the board report. And is there anything else on AMSD? I don't think so. I don't think so. On calendars, please note, this is our only meeting in November. We don't meet on Thanksgiving. So we will meet again on, oh, I forgot, I was gonna write the date down. December 11th, okay, the second Tuesday in December. We also only meet once in December, so we could. Yes, I'm gonna get to that.
Okay.
I'm gonna get to that. So one more meeting in this calendar year. Okay, this is in December, so please try to make it. And then in January, because we have turnover in our membership of this board that is dependent on actions that happen at all of our board meetings, organizational meetings. We don't meet until after the board meet, everybody's boards meet for the organizational meetings. So we meet the our second meeting, which is January 22nd. We'll meet, then instead of meeting at like whatever the second Tuesday would be, or Thursday in January. Does that make sense? Okay, we have, a number of board members whose terms are up. If you are one of those folks, you should have a letter at your table spot, and also those have gone to member district superintendents for those of you whose terms are up. And we hope some of you would come back. The Get on the Bus and the 2209 meeting schedules are in the packet, and is there a sign up going around? It'll be in the Friday. Okay, so email Wani if you have not signed up for those. We do have things coming up in December, so make sure you check on the dates for those, because they're right here as well. Wonderful. So December 2nd, that is before our next board meeting. On December 2nd, we will be visiting Ann Bremer. So please make sure you can come to that if you're available. Any other things that I'm missing? Okay, well, we are at once we're on the table. So does anyone have anything there? Go ahead, Dan.
I'll start with, at our board meeting on Monday, we voted to go to, review and comment, for our referendum, to meet growing needs in terms of, new students coming in. This referendum will be to build, 2 schools in Medina. 8 years ago, no wait, it was 7 years ago, 2018. The Wayzata School Board took action to purchase 87 acres of land out in Medina, South 55, west of Hamel. It's large enough for a 4th middle school and a 10th elementary school. We're also putting on the ballot an expansion to our high school, as well as internal improvements across the district. This can be to add kitchens, add specially designed classrooms, and renovating existing facilities to, equalize the experience. We want to make sure building to building, kids have same opportunities, same experience across our district. And so that referendum is slated for April 14th. So we have a few months here to do a campaign and hear back from the Minnesota Department of Education. We'll be voting on ballot language in January. So we're ramping up for that. This has been many, many years in the process. COVID delayed this happening, and now we're where we would have been about 5 years ago. So the second item I will talk about is in keeping with bringing you all updates as we search for a successor to Dr. Chase Anderson, who is very sadly leaving us for a well-earned retirement at the end of the fiscal year. We have decided, pursuant to board action on Monday, to engage the Minnesota School Board Association for our superintendent search. I thought they bring a lot of credentials to the process, and I've engaged with, I'm sure, many of you in the past. And so they will be supporting us during this important succession planning.
And I know I've been for a referendum in the past. Did anyone else have a referendum?
And a bond levy.
And a bond levy? Yes.
Yes.
Were there any other members referendums? Not.
West Tonka.
West Tonka, and there's also passed. Great. So congratulations to you. Well, I know yours was not close. So fantastic. Fantastic. That's great.
Strong.
Yeah, super. Any other ones that were on the table items?
One quick, I don't know how it happened, but I was elected as SMMPA's legislative team member. I am reading so much legislation right now. I'm really over my head. But if any of you have strong opinions on any of that legislation, my email is there. Email me and tell me what to do. The other thing is just a warning, we're discovering at Brooklyn Center that our Nigerian centaurs and our Sudanese centaurs are really living out trauma. Their home countries are a mess. So if you have a substantial Nigerian or Sudanese population, just might want to pay a little more attention to them, especially the Nigerian students.
Anything else? I'll entertain a motion to adjourn. By Shannon, for a second. Okay. My first note. Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye. Any opposed? Chair votes aye, and we are adjourned.
Carolyn, good to see you didn't have to strike.
Yeah.
She's Minneapolis.
Well, maybe we'll see.
Maybe.
Oh, no.
Oh.